Okay, so looking at the activities for this week, we first looked at using neutral language, restating arguments of neutral language and keeping the same meaning. This one was honestly a real struggle for me because I had trouble trying not to lose the argument that they had within it, but also trying to make it sound more even on both sides. So I rewrote this one as video games can cause a change in the behavior of young people. This behavior is most likely negative, leading to violence. We should think about age restrictions for video games. So, not saying all kids or that it turns them into murderers, just by maybe adding a video game restriction with age restrictions to kind of allow a reduction in this violence at such a young age. This is a negative value claim that needs evidence. It makes people dislike video games and makes them fear children playing them. As for the bootleg music CDs, this person was saying, well, first of all, I rewrote it as bootleg music CDs should be legal to allow fair access to all people. Changing the legality could reproduce or could reduce pollution. As for the value claim, as its negative claim of policy, this person thinks that it would be beneficial to legalize bootleg CDs. The tone in terms of the creators of music is also negative. They called them multimillionaires ripping off hardworking adults and children. Um, as for testing for ambiguity and vagueness, I kind of went through and triggered which ones had problems or not, and then went from there into ambiguity or vagueness. So, a majority of the 270 electoral votes is required to elect the president of the United States of America. I said no problem. This isn't really claiming anything out of vagueness or ambiguity. There's not really a problem there. As for part B, everyone in Congress is rich. First of all, this might not be true. We don't know. Second of all, I said it was a problem and it was vague. Rich could be defined differently by different values. So for me, maybe rich is $5, and for somebody else, maybe that's just chump change and they don't value money in that way. As for part C, I said USPS post $5 billion loss was no problem. I mean, maybe overall they did lose $5 billion. It was a little vague in terms of saying why they lost it or how, but it is just a headline. As for part D, lack of brains hinders research. I said there was a problem in ambiguity, lack of brains. Somebody might think that these people are missing their brains rather than a knowledge gap in different researchers. As for the dog for sale ad, eats anything and is especially fond of children. I said there was a big problem in ambiguity because using the words anything and fond of children, they made it sound like dogs like eating children. I think that Maria spends an excessive amount of time texting her friends. Normally, this wouldn't be a problem, it's just an opinion, but I said it was a little vague because excessive time can be defined differently depending on who you are. So, somebody in the older generation may think spending 5 minutes texting their friends is a long time, versus somebody now could be like, I was texting my friend for 5 hours, and that's not very long. So, it kind of depends on who you're asking in terms of time. Lawyers back despite use of bug spray. I said lawyers return to their site after there was a bug extermination, or lawyers don't support the use of bug spray. I said my choice was the first one because it seems more probable that there was a need to get rid of pests so that lawyers could return to work. As for police seize 14 elephants with fake IDs, I said the first option is elephants have fake IDs and the police captured them, or criminals were caught that had fake IDs. My choice two was more likely because elephants could be a term used for criminals or in expressions, the elephant in the room. Maybe the IDs were obviously fake. As for naming the doublespeak, teachers are classroom facilitators. I said this was inflated language because this makes teachers sound really fancy. Maybe it was to make them sound more, like proud of what they do. As for part B, in every war, there's considerable collateral damage. This is a euphemism, making it sound not positive, but kind of softening the blow rather than saying there's a lot of death and destruction in war. As for my mom went to the powder room, I said it's a euphemism because it makes it sound much nicer than saying, my mom had to go relieve their bladder, my mom had to go to the bathroom. Just makes it sound a little bit fancier, a little bit more polite. As for all systems are go and we have liftoff, I said this is inflated language. It makes the takeoff of a plane seem more impressive to others, or maybe makes the the pilot feel more like proud of what they did, rather than just saying the plane took off. As for part E, Sam says, "What did the officer mean when she radioed taking a code 7?" So this is a euphemism. Code 7 means taking a lunch, and it could also be more of a business term in terms of keeping outsiders off the force, out of the business of what they're doing. And then for part F, when a customer says, "Well, where will I find emergency exit lights?" And the clerk says, "Oh, flashlights are on aisle 7." I said, this is inflated language. Emergency exit lights sounds like it is more important or urgent than using the word flashlight. And that is it for our activities this week. Thank you.